Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a 31-week pregnancy update. So because I film these a little bit farther in advance, I am currently not in my 31st week of pregnancy. I'm actually going to be 33 weeks next week. But because we do film ahead of time, this will be a 31-week update, and then I'll be doing a 32 and 33-week update in the next update video. So at 31 weeks pregnant, baby is the size of asparagus, and I actually made a little list in my phone of all of the symptoms that I experienced during my 31st week of pregnancy. It's kind of crazy because I really didn't think that my symptoms would vary that much from the second to the third trimester. But as I'm in my third trimester now, I am really noticing an increase in symptoms and so many feelings. And so I definitely want to share all of those with you guys. So a really big symptom I've had, I think probably throughout my whole entire pregnancy, is heartburn galore. That's what I wrote down here because I've had so much heartburn, and Tums takes away that pain a little bit, but really it does like hardly anything. And then I have to take more Tums. And I actually had to look and see like, oh, what's the limit you can take for Tums? But heartburn is a big one for me. It is brutal, it's uncomfortable, and I can tell that he is like higher up and he's pushing into my ribs and everything. And so I'm like, okay, I definitely know that's why I'm having heartburn. But yeah, and I knew heartburn was a symptom that you could have, especially in the third trimester, but wow, it is bad. Another thing I wrote down in my notes is Braxton Hicks, kicking it up a notch, because boy have they. They are a lot more frequent. And I actually was reading about how if you have several in an hour, you need to probably go to your labor and delivery center because that's a sign that it could be preterm labor. So with all that in mind, I was like super paranoid. And now every time I have Braxton Hicks, I'm like, wait, okay, is that too many? Like, is that normal? What's normal? What's not? But yeah, the Braxton Hicks, wow, those are something else. And it's funny because I used to notice them a lot more than I do now. Even my husband, like if he's looking at my belly, sometimes I'll have a Braxton Hicks and I don't really notice it, but it's weird how often I have them. And so that's what freaks me out. It's not necessarily the feeling of the Braxton Hicks contraction because it doesn't really hurt at all. It's just a little bit tight, but it's just the fact that like as you get further into your pregnancy and like at 31 weeks, you have them so much more, and it makes you more alarmed because at this point you're like, okay, please just baby stay in there for as long as possible. Don't want preterm labor. And so that is something I'm like very much aware of, is how often I'm having Braxton Hicks contractions. And they really are kicking it up a notch because there's so many more than there were when I was like 18, 19 weeks pregnant. So another thing I wrote down, and this is so weird and it freaks me out, it freaks my husband out, it is that when I'm sitting up or I'm like working out in a plank position, my stomach kind of does this like cone thing. It makes like a cone shape. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, oh, that's part of pregnancy, until I was on Instagram. And I saw somebody that's also pregnant mention that she has that happen. And she said something about how it could be a sign of diastasis recti. And I was like, oh crap. Because like, that's one of those things that you hear can make it really hard to recover after you give birth and after you're done being pregnant. And so I was like, oh, I really hope that is not the case for me. My husband was like, what are you doing? Because I kept like checking the distance between like this little like dent above my belly button and my belly button. I was like, does this look normal? Is this normal? Like, 'cause it is my first pregnancy, so I don't know what's normal, what's not. And yeah, the cone thing is totally freaky. And so all I'm doing now, it's really nothing like if there's no pain from it or anything. I read it could be like your abs separate a little bit when you're pregnant, and that can be totally normal. It's not necessarily a sign of diastasis recti, But I am paranoid because I am going to be a first-time mom. And so these things I have so many questions about. I am just making sure to avoid doing anything that brings up that cone shape. So like when I'm working out, if there's a plank, I skip it because I don't want to do anything to strain that area any more than I have. As well as like when I'm sitting up in bed, I kind of like roll over. I look funny, but I like roll over and sit up. So it's not like I'm sitting straight up and making that cone shape appear. But yeah, the coning is so freaky. If you see your belly do that when you're pregnant, you might be like, what the heck is that? But from what I'm reading, it is actually pretty common. And if you do have this happen, they say that it can resolve itself usually if you don't strain it while you're pregnant. So that's just something I was like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, weird symptom. Next thing I wrote down is that food aversions are back with a vengeance. And this kind of sucks because food aversions I really didn't have in my first trimester. And then for some reason, 31 weeks along, I am like not into hardly any food. Like I will look at something because I'm hungry and then just have no desire to eat it or eat anything. And it kind of sucks because it's like, man, I really want that. I'm having that craving. And then I see it, I'm like, and now I don't want it. That does not look good whatsoever. So this week we had chicken salad sandwiches for dinner, and we were going to have chicken salad again for lunch the next day because we had leftovers. And for some reason, I was fine eating them for dinner. But then the next day at lunchtime, I was like repulsed by the chicken salad. Like even the thought of chicken salad made me want to throw up. I was like, that is so weird because I was fine the night before. So I don't know if maybe it was like, I don't want chicken salad again, but it really sucked because I was like, I really want to eat this, but I can't because I literally feel like I'm going to throw up when I look at it or think about it. It's so weird how you can have food aversions like that. And then something can sound so good. And then all of a sudden it's just like disgusting. I don't understand how that happens or why that happens, but it's so weird to me because I didn't really experience that whatsoever in my first trimester. But now that I'm in my third trimester, I am definitely experiencing that a lot more. It's crazy. But yeah, food aversions, unfortunately, those are something that has started happening again in my 31st week of pregnancy. So another thing I wrote down for 31 weeks was that baby boy is active all day long. And yeah, he's still very active. I don't even think I really needed to write this down because it's just like all day, every day. And I love it. I love feeling him move. I love knowing that he's growing, and I love feeling like his little feet and hands, but it's crazy because he is so active. And even at night, I will be sleeping on my left side and he does not like me sleeping on my left side. So I have to like rotate throughout the night to be comfortable, or else he like kicks me and punches and is like not okay with the way I'm sleeping. He is so active. And I feel like it's gonna translate into when he's born too. Like I feel like we're gonna have a very active baby on our hands. So something that I was not looking forward to about pregnancy was swelling. And I've actually been pretty fortunate and did not really have any swelling like in my first or second trimester. In my third trimester though, I have had some swelling in my feet, especially a little bit in my hands. I can still wear my wedding ring, which I'm thankful for. Hopefully I can continue to wear that throughout the rest of my pregnancy. But my feet, like if I'm standing on them for too long throughout the day, or even if I'm sitting and I don't have them elevated, they will start to swell and they get uncomfortable. And so I can kind of actually feel like when they are swelling because I can't bend my toes as easily. Another thing that kind of freaked me out was my left foot swells a little bit more than my right foot. And of course, I did what you're not supposed to do and Googled that. And then they say, oh, that can be a sign that you're having a blood clot. And so then I was like, what? But yeah, I really think it's fine because now they kind of both do swell. But yeah, 31 weeks of pregnancy, swelling. I definitely noticed swelling starting to happen. Another unfortunate thing that has kind of come back is nausea. And I have mentioned before in previous videos, I feel very fortunate. I did not have extreme morning sickness or even throw up from morning sickness. And I know that it's pretty common to throw up when you're pregnant from morning sickness. So I was very thankful I did not. But that being said, I noticed during that week of pregnancy, 31 weeks, that the nausea is coming back. And it comes back, it starts in the morning, and I feel like hot and just queasy. Like I don't feel like I'm going to throw up so much so, but just feel like my stomach's unsettled. And so I will take a Preggy Pop because those are awesome. Yeah, the nausea. And it's also something that happens if I eat too much, because now that baby's taking up so much room in here, I have way less room for food. And if I do eat too much, then that brings back that nausea. So I'm hoping that the nausea dies down a little bit, but I'm thinking it's probably gonna be here the rest of my pregnancy. So another thing I noticed during my 31st week of pregnancy was the round ligament pain and discomfort started to get more intense. And the round ligament pain, you can totally feel things are stretching, everything's like pulling apart, and it's pretty uncomfortable, especially like when I would be walking in a parking lot to go into a store. I was like, oh, I have to walk a lot slower now because I can feel like things have like expanded, and it is not as easy for me to walk fast. Normally, I'm a fast walker. Like I can keep up with my husband. We both have long legs and we move pretty quickly through the store. But I was like, okay, I have to move a lot slower now because of this round ligament pain. So that is something I was like, oh, wow, this is definitely increasing a lot this week. So piggybacking off of the round ligament pain, I have hip pain, big time. And I noticed during my 31st week that I've gotten so much more pain in my hips because he's like a little bit lower. And he hasn't dropped or anything, but like he is lower. And so it pulls down on my hips and everything so much more. And so that's definitely a symptom that I'm like, okay, hip pain, that's a big one. The next thing I wrote down, I feel bad about because it mostly affects my husband. And it's that I am pretty easily agitated and snappy. And it's just like little things, or just even like little mannerisms. He's not doing anything wrong, but like he'll just breathe a certain way. And I'm like, oh my God, like I feel bad saying that because it's nothing against him, but it's so weird how your hormones just make you like so much more on edge. And I feel bad because I know that he's like, okay, this is a lot, but yeah, it's so bad. I'm like, I'm sorry for snapping at you. The very last thing I wrote down for all of my symptoms at 31 weeks is so tired. And I feel like that could be because I don't sleep through the night now because I get up to pee or I have to like switch positions because the baby doesn't like when I sleep on my left side, but like so tired. Walking up our stairs, I'm winded because you do get shortness of breath in pregnancy, but like it is like amplified. I feel like I like hit a switch or something when I hit my 3rd trimester and I was like so fatigued all the time. And so it's so crazy because I know that my body is like working so much harder because I am pregnant. You really get put into perspective how tired you are in your 3rd trimester. It's hard and you don't drink that much caffeine or any caffeine. And so staying awake throughout the day is a challenge. And I'm thankful that I work from home because there have been days where I'm like, I just need to take like a power nap or something to make it to dinner time. Definitely something that I'm really struggling with is fatigue and exhaustion. So this is my bump at 31 weeks pregnant. I'll lift my shirt so you can see. I do have my belly button. You can kind of see it. It's popped out. And I normally have an any belly button. So I think my belly button popped pretty early on in my pregnancy, even though I was pretty small. And that's something people have actually like commented on, is that my bump is really small for how far along I am. I do think that's because I'm taller. So my abdomen is like a lot longer, my torso is a lot longer, and the baby has so much more room to totally stretch out. And so like I can feel him up here, like for example, his feet are like right here right now, and I can feel him down here at the same time. So he's totally making use of the space and stretching all the way out. But yeah, this is my 31-week bump. So that is it for my 31-week pregnancy update. I hope you guys can relate if you are pregnant and have had any of these symptoms, or if you are curious about symptoms that you might have this late in your pregnancy. I hope you found this helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment down below. And to see more videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe.